lock them away somewhere where I don't have to think about them. And nothing ever got solved by not thinking about it. Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I'm OK Savage. Today we're going to be testing out a creative journaling technique. Now, essentially, I have a big list of prompts, and all of these prompts to do with doing artistic exercises that focus on mental health, or inspecting thought patterns, trying to figure out what's going on in your head and being more intentional about that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find... There's some weird noises coming from downstairs, sorry. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find out what prompt we're doing. So how we're going to do that is I've got a random number generator up and I've got my list of prompts. I've set the lower limit of the generator as 1 and the upper limit as 50 because there's 50 prompts, and I'm going to click generate. And the number we got was 35. So now I'm going to have a look at my list of prompts. And number 35 is draw a jar and fill it with images of your worries. On the outside, write or draw ways to seal the jar. Seal the jar? So we're putting our worries in a jar and then we're sealing the jar. Is that not the definition of bottling things up? I'm not entirely sure about this prompt, but we'll give it a go anyway and see how it goes. Right, so it said to start off by drawing a jar, so here we go. So this is my jar. Your jar might look different. This is my jar. You can't have it. I'm going to put jam in it. You can put marmalade in yours, and that's fine. So I'm not actually going to put jam in it. I'm going to put worries in it. I think I'd rather have jam, but you know, there you go. I think my worries are going to be in little cloud bubbles. Your worries can look like whatever you like. They could be just slips of paper. They could be little creatures. Whatever you think a worry would look like, really. So there, we've got a few little clouds floating about in my great big jam jar. So now I need to think what worries I want to put into them. I would say a big worry at the moment, in general, war. Very worried about current events. A lot of it can be summed up to war and violence. Summed up to, summed down to, summed. War and violence. That's big worry. I would say another worry that's in the back of my mind a lot of the time is that I'm skint at the moment. And I just realised I don't know if skint is like a widely used slang term or not. So if you've never heard skint before, it's just not very well off. Another big worry is stripping away of rights for trans people, of which I am one. So that's, affects me and the people I know quite a lot. And I would say that a related worry to that is healthcare costs, because there's certain procedures that I would really like to have done for the sake of my mental health that I don't really have any chance of having done on the NHS before I'm about 60, with the state of the waiting lists at the moment. So that is something I'm going to have to save up for personally, and well, that one relates to that one. I'm very skint. I don't have much money, so obviously that is difficult to achieve. Another big one is not doing enough, and that's on multiple levels. So I worry that I'm not doing enough to get my artwork out there. I worry that I'm not doing enough, you know, on a personal level in my day-to-day. But I also worry that I'm not doing enough to engage in activism when it comes to things like these other issues. Realistically, that is a worry I have, that I'm not doing enough, but I do quite a lot, and I do usually do my best, but it's hard not to worry about not doing enough, especially because I have chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, as you know, some people call it. Myalgic encephalititis. It's very hard to say, but yeah, that prevents me from doing as much as I would maybe like to. Obviously, a great big worry that kind of affects everyone and everything. Climate change. Do I need to say anything more about that? I feel like you should know why that's a worry. If you don't know why that's a worry, I'll put some links to some resources in the description for where you can learn more about it. But I mean, really, I think we all know at this point that it's a problem. And I've got one bubble left. In this bubble, I'm going to put the worry of not being good at things. And this is a sort of anxiety that I have around some of the creative stuff that I do, like art and music and everything, where I worry that maybe I'm actually really bad at all these things and no one's had the heart to tell me. Which, to clarify, I don't think is actually the case, but it is a worry that I often have. Now, what I'm noticing straight off about these worries is that some of them are rational and some of them are irrational. So, healthcare costs, that is a rational thing to be worried about. That is something that is happening. Skin, having no money, that is a rational thing to worry about. It affects my life in a real way. Stripping away of rights for trans people, that is a rational thing to worry about. It affects my life in a very real way. Climate change and war and violence, both very rational things to worry about because they affect everyone monumentally. Not being good at things, that's slightly less rational. I don't think that is a rational thing to be worried about, because at the end of the day, I don't think it even matters if I am good at creative things. What is being good at art? What is being good at music? You know, it's subjective. Not doing enough, I don't think that's a rational thing to worry about either, because I know personally that I do a lot. So what I would like to do now, that wasn't written in the exercise prompt, is I'd like to distinguish between the rational and the irrational worries by colouring them in different colours. Now, because my favourite colours are orange and green, I'm going to use orange and green. And I will use green for the irrational ones and orange for the rational ones. And while we're here, I'm going to colour my jar in as well, just to make it look pretty. And because I'm using my special watercolour pencils, because I'm using those, I'm also going to get a brush and just make it a little bit smoother so it looks like glass, like a jar. Deepen some of the darker areas a bit. And so there we go, it's stuck. There we go, that's my jar full of worries. And so the prompt says to... God, that's wrinkly, isn't it? I should have done this on cartridge paper. Never mind. Right, so the prompt says that I'm supposed to find a way to seal this jar up, but I think that's silly. Because why would I want to seal this up? Why would I want to take these worries, most of which I've determined are actually quite valid things to be worried about, and the others aren't, but they're still not doing me any good? Why would I want to take that and put a lid on it? What, so that I've just got a jar of worries? What good is that to anyone? So I'm going to do something different, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my jar and I'm going to empty it out. Right, so we've emptied the jar now. Now we've got these, and we can properly think about what to do with it. Now, these two, the more irrational two, I'm going to take them, I'm going to acknowledge them, not being good enough, not doing enough. These are things that I've thought, and so I have to acknowledge them. I have to accept that, you know, these are my thoughts. And then I'm going to make a choice, and my choice is no. We're not doing that anymore. That's going in the bin. Now, we can get onto these ones. Because I don't think that any of these deserve to be put in a jar. I think they deserve to be thought about. War and violence, there's not much that I personally can do to immediately stop that, but what I can do is I can be vocal about the fact that I don't agree with it. I can go to protests when I feel up to it. Obviously, with the ME, it is hard sometimes, but I can make an effort to find out if there are any protests in my area soon, and if there's anything I can do to support the protests, even if I'm not up to the marching that day, maybe I can help with organisation or whatever. Similar thing with climate change. Again, I can get more involved in activism, stripping away of rights for trans people. Again, I can be vocal about it. I can involve myself in protests. And as well as that, I can make sure to be an active member of my community and to support other trans people in my life as much as I can, which I would say is a very important thing to me anyway. Healthcare costs. Again, protesting, being vocal about this, being skint is a funny one because the temptation is to be very individualistic about this and say, well, I just need to make more money then, don't I? But also there is the aspect of why do we live in a system that works in that way? Like, because we already determined that the worry about not doing enough has gone in the bin, because that's silly. Because I'm always doing something. I'm always doing whatever I can within, the very real limitations that I do have. And even if I wasn't, why do we live in a way where some people have less than others? So, I think, again, being vocal about it, but also maybe making more of an effort to continue to educate myself about the system that we live in and find out more about why it works the way it works and what viable alternatives there might be and what that might look like. So yeah, I think these are much better out of the jar, where I can think about solutions for them and actions that I can take to help deal with these things instead of just worrying about them. And with that, let's go review the activity. And we're back. Hello. How did you feel about this activity? I'll tell you how I felt about it. I thought that this prompt absolutely sucked. I have no idea why you would put your worries in a jar and then seal it. To me, that doesn't make a lick of sense. That just feels like saying, hello, I've got these problems. I'm not going to deal with them. I'm not going to do anything to make myself feel better about them. I'm going to lock them away somewhere where I don't have to think about them. And nothing ever got solved by not thinking about it. I think that this prompt absolutely sucked. What I have learned from it is that some people make really, really bad journaling prompts, but also that some of the big things that I worry about a lot are actually at least vaguely actionable, and there are material things, even just, having conversations about what's going on and sharing information and supporting people in your own community and everything. All of these things do help towards these big issues. These issues seem too big, and when an issue seems too big, it is very tempting to put it in a little jar and seal that away. But what good does that do? And then you know what? If we're taking that as that's a jar in your brain where you keep your worries, then what have you got? You've got a brain full of jars rattling about, just waiting for one wrong knock to go smash, and then oof, you've got worries everywhere. It's bloody rubbish, that. I don't think that's good. So what I've learned is that bottling stuff up is not great, which I feel like I already knew, but it's good to have a reminder. And also, I think I got a reminder that, there's lots of little actions we can be doing all the time to help with these worries that seem too big, that seem so scary that you do just want to push them to one side and not think about it. And sometimes it is healthy to admit and say, I am worried, I am scared, because then you can sit in that and feel it and process it, and then say, what am I going to do next? For the prompt as written, with putting it in a jar and sealing it, I would give this a 1 out of 10. It would be a 0 out of 10, but I think the fact that you have to actually write the worries out is at least healthy. At least you kind of, you're acknowledging your feelings, even if you're then deciding to metaphorically seal them away. But yeah, then again, there is probably quite a lot of value to the actual process of acknowledging them, even if the sealing them away is quite harmful. So alright, yeah, it can have a 2 out of 10, but that's the most it's getting. Anyway, I would like to say, if you're watching this on YouTube, you could have been watching it a week ago on my Patreon page, and if you are watching it from Patreon, then thank you very, very much for supporting me and my work. You make a lot of difference in my life, and I really, really appreciate it. And with that, I think that's me done, actually. So, yeah, have a good one.